So now we're going to perform OTDR testing on our MPO ribbon cable using the Cable-SLM application in what's called numbering mode. You would use this method if you have a certain number of fibers that you're going to do OTDR shots on. So let's go to our T-Bird 4000 homepage. Again, just make sure your expert OTDR function and your MPO switch function are activated. Click on your setup hard key. Go to the acquisition setup page first. Just make sure your OTDR parameters are where you want them to be. Alarms have already been set up. Analysis we don't need to touch. I'll go down to file setup briefly here. We've set up the project, the file directory where we're going to save our project results. And we also selected auto store. This automatically saves our test results as soon as the test is done, so we don't have to do any button clicking after the test. It'll be dumped right there in that file directory under the project name folder. So now let's go to link cable setup and activate the project information window. And under display mode, we're going to choose numbering. Alright, start fiber is typically number 1. And then how many fibers are we going to test? Let's not do that many. In the interest of time, let's do 3. Alright, so now we've set up our project. Now let's give it a name and create the folder. We call it Project N for numbering. And now the project has been created, and the Cable-SLM application has given us this little bingo card here to help guide us along the test. So there's one square for each fiber to be tested, and fiber number 1 is selected and teed up and ready to go. So let's start the test. Alright, finished fiber number 1. It's prompting us to do fiber number 2. So when a fiber passes its test, it'll be highlighted in green. If it fails, it'll be highlighted in red. Just FYI, our cable being tested is just a 20-meter launch cable followed by another 20-meter section of cable. Fiber 2 is done, and let's say yes. And that's it. So we passed all 3 fibers, and now let's show what we can do here. Let's say we want to go back and look at the results of fiber 2. Click on fiber number 2, and down here on the lower right, click on View Fiber Test, and it'll take us to that trace. Again, maybe we want to go check this out in SmartLink Mapper mode and see the icon-based view. Pretty boring. Alright, go back to the trace. And now let's go back to our bingo scorecard. Let's say we didn't like what we saw on fiber number 2. We can retest it. It's already selected here. The square is selected. And we can just hit Start Stop again. And it'll prompt us to ask if we really want to test this fiber again. So we'll click Yes to do so. And we'll say no. Fiber 3 is already done. We won't do it, but one other thing you can do is when you get your bingo card, before you do any of the tests, for instance, if you didn't want to do fiber number 2, let's just say you wanted to do fiber 1 and then skip right to fiber 3, what you would do is click on box number 2 and click here for disable fiber test, and that will gray out box number 2. So then you're only going to test fibers 1 and 3. Alright, so now that we've completed the project, let's go back to our file directory. And you can see with our project folder selected, because we're still, our project is still open, what it's given you is it's given you our project test results in table format here. So everything's just laid out for you in terms of the test results. So let's go back to the results page. And our project is done. So at this point, before you move on to do anything else, be sure to close the project, because it won't be able to start a new project if a current one's already open. So let's do that. And let's take a quick trip back to our file directory. And as you can see now, instead of showing us the test results in table form, now it's just simply showing us the contents of the folder, and this is just the trace and the PDF reports for the 3 fibers we just shot. And that's it. So that's how you use the Cable-SLM application in numbering mode to test a number of MPO ribbon fibers.